Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining Real Talk with Ellasin. Listen, I just want to say if you are on Facebook, hit that like button. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe. On today, first, let me back up. I want to say to any survivors out there, to anyone that's going through breast cancer, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I just want to say that, we are definitely lifting you up in prayer. And we're praying that God continues to sustain you if you're going through. And if you're a survivor, then keep on fighting. Amen. I just wanted to say that. October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month, right? And we just want to go ahead and bring awareness to domestic violence on this month. So I am doing a show every Thursday this month on domestic violence. We have different women who are here to share their story. I want to put a disclaimer out there that some things may be triggering. If you are feeling triggered, to please sign off. We do not want anyone to be triggered, so please sign off. I also wanted to give out the domestic violence number, and that number is 1-800-799-7233. Again, the National Domestic Violence Hotline number is 1-800-799-7233. Well, I am Ellasin, and I cannot wait to introduce our guest on today. But did you know that before I introduce her, I want to say, did you know that one in 4 women and 1 in 10 men have been subjected to some form of domestic violence? And I believe it is important for people to have a clear understanding of what domestic violence entails, which it could be physical or sexual, stalking, or psychological type of aggression. There's many types of domestic violence. About 11 million women and 5 million men who reported experiencing either sexual violence, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. And that's even before the age of 18. Well, on today, I have a very special guest. She has broken her silence. She is a domestic violence specialist. She is an advocate. She is a speaker. And I am happy to have none other than Natalie Purdie here joining me. Hey, Natalie.
Hi, Ellison.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, my sister. How are you? It's good to see you. And the
Good to
reason why I
see
keep saying it's
you.
good to see you, because I keep calling you a miracle.
Thank you. Yes, it's good to be seen and not viewed.
Yes, 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 yes. So Natalie, you know what? I just want to jump in because your story is so powerful. So just tell us a little bit about, your story and all entails, and we'll just go back and forth and chat.
Absolutely. So, um, let me just say that this month is like so near and dear to my heart
Mm-hmm,
because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And
mm-hmm,
just to raise awareness, like you said, I'm a miracle. I'm a survivor. I was attacked by my current, he was my boyfriend at the time. Well, we were
mm-hmm,
actually dating, so we didn't even really have a title.
mm,
But yeah, so we were just dating. And he started talking, rushing the relationship and talking about marriage. And when I said that I wasn't ready because I was young,
mm-hmm.
he
Now,
attacked.
how old were you?
I had just turned 18.
Okay. Oh,
That
yes.
was the big deal, to turn 18. It was like, I haven't waited so long for that. So
Yes.
I had just turned 18 the month before.
Okay. Oh, you was good and fresh.
I was good and fresh. Yes, I
Okay.
was feeling like, oh, I'm 18 now.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And so, but I knew that I wasn't ready for marriage.
Right.
I
Right.
was,
Well, now was he 18 too, or?
no, he was 23, 24 at the time.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So you was 18, you guys were dating, because I heard you say we didn't even really have a title,
Absolutely.
right? So you
Yes.
guys were dating, things apparently got serious if he was talking about marriage.
I had not really gotten that serious, but that is one of the signs. You're
Oh,
when you're dating someone and they want to take you on that fast track of a relationship,
okay.
wanting to wanting you to be boyfriend girlfriend overnight, wanting to get married right away,
Right.
and like you said, I was good and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't know the signs and when you are young, that's more flattering than seeming dangerous. So I really
Wow.
didn't feel threatened. I felt flattered.
Right.
And I really thought, like, oh, okay, that's a thought. But when it was one thing for him to say it, like, well, what if we were to get married? Or what if
Right.
we were to make this relationship more serious? That was one thing, of one type of flattery. But when he started talking about, like, in that year, like in a few months, then
Oh wow.
that's when it was a red flag for me.
Okay. So you're saying a red flag could be rushing the relationship.
Yes, that's definitely a sign.
Okay. Okay. So how did you feel by him rushing the relationship? How were you taking that?
Well, at first, just like both perpetrators, it wasn't so blunt. So even though I'm seeing that he was rushing it, at first it just seemed like it was flowing. It
Okay.
seemed like it was just flowing along, like, okay, I'm seeing you more and more and more. But
Right.
again, the flattery. And so that did not make me feel automatically like it was a red flag.
Okay.
But when he did start saying, like, kind of like, let's move along a little faster, it made me
Mhm.
feel like, wait, slow down.
Mhm.
Slow
Okay.
down. I'm not really ready. And I don't, that's not the track that I want to take. And I made that
Right.
clear when we first started dating. I made it clear that I did not want a serious relationship because I was leaving. I knew my
Okay.
plan was to leave for school.
Okay. So you made
So,
it clear
mhm.
in the beginning. You
In the very
wasn't
beginning,
leading him on.
yes, which is
Okay.
very important that we set the boundaries.
Ooh. Ooh. You said the B word, boundaries.
The boundaries. You can't even be mad for somebody crossing those boundaries if they don't know what it is.
Oh, you dropping bombs already. Do you know how many people believe that you don't need boundaries in a relationship?
Yes, yes, yes,
So tell us the importance of setting boundaries, because it sounds like from the very beginning you were like, look, I'm 18, I got a plan for my life, I'm not looking for nothing serious. Like you did that.
yes, yes.
So what's the importance of setting boundaries?
The importance of setting boundaries is because if someone crosses those boundaries, then that's disrespectful. And they're
Mm,
not respecting you and they're not respecting the relationship.
mm.
So, that's a warning sign that they won't respect. If they don't respect your boundaries, they don't respect you.
If they don't respect your boundaries, they don't respect you, and they sure can't respect a relationship.
That's correct. Now, let me tell you this. Before the attack, he respected my boundaries,
Okay.
which is, again, very scary because he knew how to hide the warning signs. So he respected my
Mm,
boundaries. Sometimes then we see in abusive relationships, the person doesn't. They start off, or, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I know you said you don't like that. Oh, it won't happen again.
mm-hmm.
He wasn't breaking any promises. He was actually keeping up with making sure
Mm.
he was walking that tightrope, and
Sound
he
like he was grooming the relationship.
was really grooming the relationship. It was so that I had no clue and no one else had a clue. So when I say he was respecting my boundaries, when he wanted to take me out on a date, if I said I have to be back home by a certain hour,
Mm-hmm.
then he made sure I was there.
Yeah.
He made sure that I was on time.
Okay.
And I felt like, wow, him being older, and he's more mature than a lot of the guys that I was
Mm-hmm.
dating,
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted me to disrespect my parents, my grandparents, whoever said this is your curfew. They'd be like, oh, you can be late, or they'd make me late.
Right.
And not worry
Wow.
about me being on punishment. It was just what they wanted. And so with him showing that type of maturity, I thought, oh wow, he respects my family, he
Mm-hmm.
respects, my boundaries, he respects everything that I stand for. And he's really that person that's just always there, like always
So,
seems to care, and
the perfect gentleman.
the perfect gentleman.
Mm.
You
The
gotta get that.
perfect gentleman. And by you saying all of this, I'm wondering if and I mean, he's not in the room, so we don't know, but it almost sounds like this behavior was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Yes, that this behavior
Yes.
was learned probably from a previous relationship or so.
Yes.
Right. So it
Yes.
sounds like he learned this behavior. He knew what to do to get in there with you, to get in there with the parents. Oh, he's so respectable. He's bringing her home. All of this stuff is happening. He's respecting my boundaries.
Yes.
Was there any signs, like, how sometimes, when Preston said a wolf in sheep's clothing, sometimes the little aggression comes out, or was there any kind of signs?
You see my face?
No. Oh my
No.
God.
So scary. No signs. Okay.
Wow.
So let's get into that. Okay. So I was 18. So
Mhm.
you got to think about it, like, while we were dating for a majority of the time, I was 17. I've always had a problem, like, not liking to ask for permission. Like, oh boy, they're going to say yes or no. So if he said, let's go to the movies, I'd be like, well, if you want to go, you got to go ask my grandparents.
Okay.
And he would. Excuse me, Mr. Holloman, Mr. Holloman, is it okay if I take Natalie to the movies? He'd go through the drill. What time is,
Wow.
where you going? What time? What time will you have her back? No problem.
Wow.
And because he was grooming me. Okay.
Right. And them.
And then, because they had no idea, he's always so respectful, always so mannerable, always make sure he speaks. Just the perfect gentleman. We never had an argument.
So wait, because I feel if two people are coming together and they don't argue, somebody's lying, because we come from two different parts of the world,
Yes.
and now we're coming together, and especially because you guys had that age gap, but here you are saying we never had an argument, and probably to you that was like the best thing since sliced bread, but to me, I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Could that be a sign? Like, why are we so perfectly together and we're not fussing? Could that be a
That's
sign?
that's definitely a sign. And when you're
Okay.
young, you don't have that experience to
Mm,
know that, hey, wait, something's wrong. We've never had, and it's one thing. It's not to say that you have to have an argument, but we never even had like a debate, never a disagreement, never I like that, you don't like that, never anything. Everything even keeled. And then, and exactly, yes, Mr. Allen, you have to see how he acts. But I still had I wasn't even looking for it. I was,
you was
okay.
18 though.
So let me give you an example. Okay, so before him, I dated a guy. And we were like serious. Like, you saw me, you saw him.
Uh-huh.
Like, we were always together. Like, our friend, we had mutual friends. So we were always hanging out together. Even if we weren't together, the friends would all meet up and then we'd be together. And so we still be together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that I started feeling he wasn't smothering me, but I just was like, oh, I want to date more people. And I just want to, I don't want to be in a committed relationship at such a young age, like on
Right.
that track towards marriage. So I broke up with him. And when I broke up with him, he was really hurt. And it was nothing that he had done at all. Nothing he had done. He actually showed what a real relationship would be like. Now, but I didn't know, and he scared me. He would call and he would call and he'd call all the time. And I look, no, he'd be like, why? So I really had my guard up with him. I was like, oh, wow. But he was letting me know his emotions. So sometimes he'd call me, he would be mad. Sometimes he'd call me, he'd be sad. Sometimes he'd call me, he'd be like, well, come on, can't we work it out? Sometimes he'd call and be like, can I bring your pictures back? And I'd be like, no, I don't want them. Just keep them. I can't stand looking at them. Okay, well, then throw them away. I don't want to throw them away. Any excuse to just try to get back over there.
Right. And I like that you said he was showing his emotion versus
not saying anything at all.
Not seeing anything at all. So that's also something. Why are you, and I get it, not all men showing emotion, but if I'm hurting, something's going to come out if I'm hurting, as a man. A man's not going to show emotions like us. However, they're going to show something when they're hurting.
Absolutely. So he came over one day unannounced. And when I saw him, I was like, oh boy. Oh, this is not going to be good. And so I said, look, I'm going on a date and you have to leave because.
So the ex showed up while the current was
on his way.
Ooh, child.
I know. I was like, look, you trying to get me in major trouble with my grandparents. You're trying to get me in trouble with the guy. Like, this is not good. You need to go. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, oh, but I just came by. So, so he left. As he was leaving, here comes the current one.
The Casanova, as Miss Brooks said.
The Casanova. Yes, he's coming. He's coming on in. Mm-hmm. And so he's coming up the walkway. And I'm kind of like, oh. And he's like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Like, let me grab my stuff. Like, I don't even need both of you in the house. So I just hurried up, grabbed my stuff, and closed the door.
Right.
And so as we were going to get in the car, the ex, who was a very large man, he was really big. That was another thing of why I had my guard up, because he was so big.
Okay.
And so I was just like, oh boy, what is this going to be? And so being that he knew he was so big, he was basically being very intimidating. So he kind of was like just standing in the way.
Right.
So we had to go around.
Okay.
And then he stood in the way of like, let's see if he opened my car door. Casanova opened my car door, of course.
Right.
And then when he went, you knew he had to go past him to go to his side. So he stood right there. So Casanova went around the back way.
Right. So I'm listening to your story and all the things that you were in fear of with your ex. You didn't have none of these with Mr. Casanova. And thank you, Muriel, for giving us that name.
Yes, thank you. I love her.
You didn't have any kind of fears, any kind of anything with this guy. So how long did you guys actually date?
So we dated before that, but it was never consistent. Okay. It was like go out on a date here, go out on a date there. So as soon as I graduated from high school, then it became more consistent.
Okay.
And it was just him and I basically. So he made sure, remember I said Mr. Reliable. So he would drive me to church. Sometimes he would pick me up from church. He would take me to dance practice. He sometimes waited for me. Sometimes he didn't. Sometimes he would come back and pick me up.
So wait. Because I'm hearing and I'm not 18 and in this situation, but I'm hearing controlling. I'm almost hearing isolation, because if I'm the one doing all of this, there's no room for anybody else.
That's correct.
Okay. So
But
those are also signs, right?
those are definitely signs. But look at the grooming process. It was
Yes.
never, yeah, making me dependent on him, never pushing himself on me. It was just, hey, you need a ride? He knew that I would either have to work, I would have to walk, or I would have to catch the bus or get a ride with someone else.
Mhm.
And most of the time
Right.
I was taking the bus or walking. So it was like, oh, let me give
So
you a ride.
right. So I had a question, and that was a good question. Did he go to church with you, or he just dropped you off and picked you up?
Drop me off, pick me up.
And that
Nope.
wasn't even a red flag, like, hey boo, if we end this, you need to come on up in here
No, no,
too.
no, 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 no. Why would I?
Okay.
Remember, I don't want to be serious.
That's okay. You're right. Yep.
I'm not looking for you to be my husband and sit next to me at church.
Yeah.
So I was fine with that. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, no, you could. He even went as far as to buy me things to wear to church.
I said I wasn't going to say nothing about counseling, but he definitely was he definitely was grooming and controlling you. Like, he's even buying your clothes.
But again, just like you see with these young kids, it wasn't like, hey, you need to wear this. It was, hey, I saw this outfit and I know you go to church all
Wow.
the time. So here's a dress that you could wear to church.
Flattering you.
We were in the
Yeah.
mall. I saw some shoes. I was like, oh, those are really nice, really expensive. I'm 18. I'm not gonna be able to buy those shoes. At that time, it was Tallheimers, I think, or Hex. I can't afford those, but he
Right.
went back and bought them,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was just because it wasn't my birthday. It wasn't anything like that. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
and
I'm
let me
so
just go
glad
back
that
to the let me go back to that episode of the ex showing up.
okay.
So once we drove off, and I went to go and explain. Oh, let me just tell you, that's my ex. And no, he basically cut me off and said,
Why?
"I don't need to know. I'm good. Basically, I'm
Okay.
confident. I trust you.
Oh yeah, he was good.
I don't need an explanation. We don't even
Yeah,
have to
he was
go into.
good.
We don't even have to go into that. Like
Yeah.
I'm all
Yeah.
right.
Right. So yeah, he was good, and he just was like, "Oh man, this guy is so understanding."
Exactly. I was like, he's so mature. He's not
Yeah.
acting like him, where he's all over
Yeah.
the place. I was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, he's really
Yeah.
mature and he's really understanding. Again, red flag.
Red flag.
The light should have been like a siren at that point.
Right.
Because what was
Because
what
you
was
didn't
happening?
know, sis. You didn't
I didn't
know.
know. What was happening was it was all festering.
Yeah.
All
It
of
was
this,
as if he was a soda bottle and it was just all
yes,
bubbling.
all of this is bottling up.
Yeah. So so fast forward, right? And I listen to what I'm saying. I'm so glad that you found your voice, because your story is phenomenal. Your story made the news. Your story, they reenacted your story on what, the Lifetime, if I'm not mistaken, and Criminal Stories. So your story was reenacted over and over again, because as I read one topic, one title, it said true crimes. Like, it's just, it was so true that this happened, that it was, we need to get this out for her.
Yes,
So tell us about that day.
that day.
Was there a sign?
Nope. Oh, well, okay, that day. Let's start off. So that day he calls. He calls that day and he says, "Where were you yesterday?" Which was a Saturday. And I said, I told him where I was. And then he said, "And you didn't go to church today," which I didn't go to church. And he had been calling. And so he said, well, I'm coming over. That was first red flag. But, just as we as women, or sometimes even men, we dismiss things. So the reason that that was a red flag was because he never told me. He always asked.
Right. Okay.
But
Okay.
so this was the first time, so it was easy for me to dismiss that. Okay, he didn't ask; he just told me. But I'm glad that he said that because I need him to come over so I can explain to him that we're moving too fast and that I'm not ready for marriage because I've been thinking about it and I've been thinking about how he keeps bringing it up more and more now.
Okay. So you were gonna break up with him, like?
I wasn't sure if I was gonna break up.
Okay.
I was 18.
Right, but you was definitely gonna slow it
So
down.
when I say 18, if you think back as girls at 18, we can love you in 1 hour, hate you in the next, and then miserable and can't eat because we want you back.
Right. Yes. Okay. I guess.
Because you have no idea.
Yes,
So
yes,
you don't know
yes.
what you're gonna be feeling like in that. But I thought you say you hate him. I love him.
Yes.
So
You're right.
I didn't really know what I just knew that I needed to again reiterate the boundaries, make sure that he knew where I was coming from, and then see where we would go forward from there.
Okay.
But I knew that I needed to make sure that I set the record straight because you did the ultimate. You asked me where was I?
Okay.
And that was a concern. Where am I? Oh boy, we're not
Okay.
there.
Right.
And so he I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're fine. So he came over.
So he came over and my brother was outside with his friends and he spoke to them and he came in and my grandmother was in the living room and he greeted her like he always did. And then we went to the back. We had a family room, a den area, and that's always where we would be at. So we go in the den and we sit down and we start talking. And right when we sit down, he's looking because I have my senior pictures all scrolled out with the list and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he says to me, I start the conversation and say, I think that it's going too fast. I think that I'm not really ready. I know you talked about marriage. You talked about me moving in with you and your parents and that they're building a new house. And how we got to this conversation.
Hey, he wanted you to move in with him and the parents, not even his own?
That's correct. So let me tell you how we got to this Sunday. When he said the what ifs, what if we were to get married? What kind of car would you like? What kind of house would you like? Those kind of things, like a future together, but not concrete. It wasn't an engagement ring. It was just a what if.
Okay.
And so when he was asking me these questions, I was like, oh, okay, this is just what if. But then one day when we went out on a date, we went back to his house and I saw boxes. And when he saw my eyes contact with the boxes, he said to me, oh yeah, soon you have to get ready to start packing so you can move in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was just like, whoa, like, wait a minute. Right. So I never said no at that moment because I think I was just so shocked. I was just like, wait, what? Move in? So I just went home. I called my best friend and I was like, oh, this guy is really trying to move too fast.
Move fast, yeah.
And so I said, I started at that point, even though I was 18, I was kind of mature. So I started like a list of the pros and cons. And the cons were outweighing the pros. Okay. So much that I didn't even have to write it down. I already knew what my cons were. And so I just hadn't said anything to him. But that night, that Sunday when he did call and start saying, where were you? And you didn't go to church and all of these things. That was like talking to deceased to me. I had never experienced anything like that, but I was just like, oh, this is not good. So when he said I'm coming over, I was like, okay, good. When he comes with this discussion. So when he came, that list was I had it verbatim. I didn't
Right.
need to look at anything written down. I was like, look, you're moving too fast. I'm 18. I got to go to school. I plan to go, finish my career as a dancer. I've never had my own apartment. What if when I want to go out, you want me to stay home as your wife? I don't want to go to school and come home and cook dinner. I was already cooking dinner then since I was 15. So I was like, this is not appealing to me. What if I want to be at the pep rally, but
Right.
I got to go home and cook dinner for my husband? I said, what about school? He said, my parents will pay for it. What about me having a car? I have a brand new car. You'll drive my car.
So he had an answer for everything.
Oh, he had an answer for everything. And the things that he didn't have an answer for, his reply was, but why, Natalie, I love you.
Okay.
And every time I said something else, he said, but why, Natalie, I love you. And so he basically was saying, the love should be enough. I shouldn't want anything else.
Right. Okay.
And so I was just like, no, you're not getting it. So we were going around and around and around. And time was just ticking.
It's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, we weren't getting anywhere. So I said, look, okay, this is what we're going to do. The things that you bought me, some of it I haven't even worn yet. I'm going to give it back. And he was like, give it back? And I said, yeah, I want to give you the things back. And so he said, well, why do you want to give it back? And I said, I don't want you to think that I was using it.
Right.
And he said, oh, no, I don't think that. So I said, okay, well, I still want to give you the items back. I just feel more comfortable, whatever. So he said, I'm not going to take them back. He said, but I can't take them out like that. You know, like the shoes, the dress.
Right.
I said, okay, let me go get the bag. Let me go get a bag. And he really didn't stop me because it was almost like, okay, I'm stalling for time.
Right.
So, you want to go get a bag? Go get a bag. So I hurried up and got the bag, came back. When I came back in the room, he shifted. He moved to the other side of the room. I kind of assumed that the reason that he did that was he just didn't want to be by the door. So if someone came by, they could hear our discussion.
Okay.
So, red flag, but I dismissed it. Okay, so we sat in the corner of the room and we continued discussing it. And then it was just like an awkward silence. And then I looked at the time and I was like, I think it's time for you to leave.
Yeah.
And just like the person that he is, the whole time I'm watching his body language and everything, and nothing has shifted that I can see. So he said, okay. And he got up and he proceeded to like, okay, I'll leave. And so I said, well, maybe I'll call you tomorrow, or maybe we need to take a break. I don't know. I just know we're on 2 different pages now.
Okay.
And he said, okay. He said, okay. Not mad. Nothing. Like nothing on his
no signs or nothing.
No signs, no gritting, no teeth, no clenching of fists, nothing that I can see. Because I'm watching him.
Right.
I'm watching him and I'm like, okay. All right, I guess he's okay. He's that same calm, cool, collected person that he's been this whole time. And so then as I'm walking into the door, the thing that God gives us, that instinct that we so often
my heart is already pounding, Natalie. I'm just wanting to say sorry already. My heart because I know and my heart just is pounding.
Yeah, the instinct said turn around. But in my mind, the turnaround was make sure he's behind you. Like being courteous to walk into the door.
Yeah.
But so I go to look to see if he's behind me, and by the time I look, he's already got his hand in the air with the scissors. And he just started stabbing me. And I just started like screaming, I'll marry you, I'll marry you, thinking that would make him stop. It didn't. And so then I didn't even know what else to say. I just kept saying, I'll marry you. He just kept on. And he was just coming for me. And because I was so off my guard, the first contact of him just hitting me was like me falling back.
Yeah. And
just trying to get away from him. Mm-hmm. And so from that point, I knew that he wasn't going to stop. So I started calling my grandmother.
Yeah.
And she finally realized, like, okay, I thought they were play fighting, but now I realize the distraught, you know, the sound of
Yeah.
her voice.
Yeah.
And so she hung up the phone and she ran back there. And when she ran in the room, when she first looked in the room, she couldn't see us. So
Right.
she was just about to go to another room because he had me so far wedged up in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And that was parallel to the door. So when she just looked in, she didn't see us. So then but she heard me call her again. And she came in the room and she saw how he was straddled over me. She couldn't see me. She could only see my legs. And from that point, she was calling his name, but he can't hear her.
Because he's so angry that he couldn't even hear, and he was straddled over you, and he had the scissors, and he was repeatedly stabbing you, and he stabbed you numerous times.
Yes. So when she pulled him off and asked him what was he doing, she was like, stop it. What are you doing? What are you doing? She thought he was punching because she couldn't see. She could just see his
Right.
arm. And once he turned around and looked at her, then she saw the blood.
Mm.
And then she realized, oh, he has something he's stabbing her with. So
Yes.
he started backing up out of the room. And he just stared at her. He never said a word. And then he went back to stabbing me. Once she was almost out of the room, he went back to stabbing me, and he continued to stab me while she was on the phone with 911.
My God. My God. My God. My God, you guys are watching Real Talk with Ellasin, and we're talking with Natalie Purdie about domestic violence, and she is sharing her traumatic story. And Natalie, all I can say is I thank God that you're here and I get to know you and you have a voice.
Thank you.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure if it was 30 or over 30 times that he ended up stabbing you.
Yes.
And look at you. You're absolutely beautiful and a testimony of I don't look like what I've been through.
Yes, thank God. Yes. Nothing but
Yes.
his grace and mercy.
Yes. Yes. Domestic violence is real, and a lot of times we talk about warning signs. A lot of times we talk about stalking, when people, their pattern of repeated behavior, wanting attention, wanting to contact. We talk about psychological aggression, the verbal and the nonverbals, and of that part. But none of this was your story. None of this was your story. And then for you to have to go through this,
Yes.
and then for your grandmother, which I'm sure was scared for yours and her life.
Yes. 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 She was definitely scared for both of us. And that split second decision, I always tell her, how she saved my life, because you don't know what to do. And for us not to have experienced that in our family, she did exactly what you're not supposed to do. In that situation, you don't you don't try to, she thought about it. Oh, what can I do to try and attack him? Or what can I do towards him? But in
Hmm.
that split second, she realized, and this is an
He's
idiot.
deranged.
Exactly. He's deranged. So survival versus someone who's deranged is not a fair fight. And she knew it, and she also knew his type of rage that he already had built up wouldn't be compared to her type of rage. And she also knew that he's a man and he's a young man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm an older woman. So it won't take anything for him to overpower me, even with me approaching him with the weapon.
Right.
And so she said her second decision to say, let me call 911. Because if
Yeah.
I confront him any further, he may kill both of us.
Both of you guys.
And
Yeah.
and who would
My
be able
God.
to call for help?
Right. My God. My God. And this could have been, it could have turned out way different than what it did. And I know you spent time in the hospital.
Yes,
Of course, so I know you spent time in the hospital. And did you have to learn to do anything all over again?
everything.
Look at you now. Look at you now. You had to learn to do everything, walk, talk, all of that all over again because of someone who who couldn't take rejection.
Yes.
Someone who probably was dealing with their own demons.
Hmm.
Um, and wanted to take you out. But I'm so grateful for, yes, like your grandmother did, and I'm so grateful that God chose to save you, because unfortunately not everybody's here to tell their story.
That's right.
And the unfortunate part of this is he didn't even really do. Oh, Natalie. Listen, a lot of my viewers, I know they know the Lord. Y'all, this is why I ask you guys to pray for when I have people on the show. Y'all, please lift up Natalie
Oh,
in
thank
prayer, because although it happened, it's still her story and it's her journey,
you.
and she has memories. I'm sure triggers at times. So y'all, please, please, please pray for Natalie.
Okay.
Amen. Let her know y'all praying for her. So we learned to walk again. We learned to talk again. Unfortunately, he didn't do the time he deserved. And if I'm not mistaken, he did something again.
So he didn't do any time.
Oh, anytime. My God. My God. And so there he was, yet a perpetrator out to do it yet again, to hurt someone else. And I am so sorry that you had to go through this, but I am so grateful that you found your voice, you found strength, and now you are using it to help other people. So let me ask you this: how can the community as well as churches help reduce intimate violence?
Oh wow. So the I have a curriculum actually for churches.
Oh, okay.
I have a whole where I can speak to your clergy. I don't know if you can see it. I have these
Let
bright
me
lights.
see.
Speaking of faith, domestic violence programs, and the African American Church.
Hmm. Okay. So that
Um,
means I got to have you on again with our church, right?
oh yes, please, yes. So let me just tell you really quick. The, the one thing that churches can do is first and foremost acknowledge it.
Yeah,
Um,
yes, because it happens in the
it
church.
happens all the time. It happens people who are members of the church, and then you have a lot of people that just they may be a member, they may not, they may just come to visit the church. And a lot of times we find out that victims are eight. That's the only one place they are allowed to go to church.
Mm.
They're allowed. You can go to church. You know why they can go to church and they can't go with their friends and they can't go with their family? Do you know why?
I don't.
You don't? Because church is the one place that people mind their business.
Oh, Jesus. Whoo. Mike, that was a mic drop right there. And mm, mm, mm. we
You
we
go
gonna
to church with
we
sunglasses
need to
on.
have another show just
You
on
can
that
go to
one.
church with a black eye. You can go to church with a coat on in the wintertime to hide the, I mean in the summertime to hide the scars. And
Woo.
and people a lot of times when you come to church, you may not pay attention to those people. If they're not dressed like you might not even give them a second look. If they
Listen,
sit in the
I'm
back,
I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on, because the church the only place that minded business. Like that's I'm like, my God, because so much is running through my head, and it's
when you
like,
say something,
Jesus.
when you say to someone that you see that may come often, but no one talks to them, and then you say to them, "Hey, how you doing?" and you don't realize that there's never any eye contact. They keep their head down. They
Right.
arrive when service has just started, and they leave before everyone else. Why? Because they're on a
Wow.
time frame. Can't be.
Wow.
You got to get back home, and if you're not back by a certain time, there will be consequences. And a lot of times, the perpetrators will use the Bible as a weapon, especially
Oh,
if you're
Jesus.
married. You know, the Bible. They won't go to church with you, but they'll use it to say, you're my wife. You should be submissive. You should listen to what I say. You shouldn't be wanting to leave me. Um, you will have family members that say, that's your husband. You made that vow. You shouldn't be talking about leaving him. Well, he hits me. Well, maybe it's something that you need to get used to, or maybe it's something that you did.
Listen, we gonna stop right there because we're gonna have a whole.
I know, because I can go all the way
a
into
whole nother segment on that right there, if you're willing.
Yes. Oh, I'm always willing. Yes. Yes.
Because that is so true, and it's and a lot of people don't speak on that, and I think it's time that we do speak on that.
Absolutely. And it's nothing. It's sometimes you have clergy that I had a clergyman, a pastor in a church in New York. He just didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to do. He called me, and he was like, "This woman's been coming to church this whole time, and she had to sneak and call him from work."
Wow.
Because other than that, he checked her cell phone and everything. So she called the pastor from work to say, "Hey, is there any way you can help me?"
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, we definitely have to do a whole segment on that. Listen, you guys, you're watching Real Talk with Ellasin. We're talking to Natalie Purdie. She has been sharing her story with us. Her social media tag is right there. If you are in a domestic violence relationship or even know someone, the national hotline number is 1-800-799-7233. All right. So, Natalie, not only are you using your voice, but you told your story in several books. So, Natalie is a 3-time author. She wrote Surviving Her, Finding Hope Behind Pain, right? Surviving Her, Finding Hope Behind Pain, Words of Wisdom for the Heart and Soul. And then she also wrote, Girl, Don't Count Yourself Out. Oh
So
my
let me
goodness. Give
say,
us
I
a
can't
little bit
take
of
credit for
feedback
any.
on Girl, Don't Count Yourself Out. I love that title right there.
Yes, it's remarkable. So look, I can't take credit for any of those books because I didn't even come up with the title. I am just one of the authors out of so many other amazing women. For Surviving Her, Words of Wisdom, they were empowered by Kathy Staten. You saw her on the beginning of the show. She is the founder and president of My Help, My Hope Foundation.
Yeah.
And so I'm on the board with that. And Girl, Don't Count Yourself Out. It was orchestrated by Sabrina Thomas. And so they're all anthologies, and I have a chapter in each of those.
Well, listen, I still think that's good because that's even better because not only is it yours, but it's a collaboration. So it's multiple women telling their story, which is good because no woman goes through the same exact thing.
Yes, so
That's
amazing.
powerful.
It is. All of them are really amazing. Oh, it's just such a blessing to be a part of it.
And what's Surviving Her, Finding Hope Beyond Pain?
Yes. So in this book, I talk about what it's like to go through another trial. Because I went through the first trial and he got away with it. And then they had me come back as a surprise witness.
Right.
And it's already hard enough when you're going through a trial with someone, but then to go back again and try and find that courage that they make it away with it again.
So I read up on that. I'm not sure if that's the trial where he like bit the hole in the face.
Yes.
My God.
Yes. Yes.
Whew. The amount of evil to just bite a chunk out of somebody's face and then spit it out like they don't even matter.
Exactly.
Yeah, that. And then for you, even though it was her story, you came back for the trial, you still had to relive your story.
Absolutely.
So that makes sense. Surviving her, finding hope beyond pain.
Yes.
How much is telling your story a part of your healing?
Oh, that's my healing. And I always had that desire in the beginning. I had the desire, but I had more pain. Okay, so first and foremost, domestic violence is embarrassing. And one of the main reasons why it's embarrassing is because so often victims are they we get victim blame. People victim blame.
That's true.
And so even in my situation, people were like, "Well, what did you do? What did you say? It must have been something that you did in order to cause him to do this." But nobody ever asked, why is the perpetrator doing this? Why did he do it? They more so want to blame the victim. So
yeah, if you just be quiet, if you don't say anything back,
exactly. They have a whole list of the things that you should do so that maybe you won't get hit. And none of them work. None of them work.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons why I was quiet. Another reason why I was quiet and never talked about it before too much before the trial was also because I felt like I didn't matter. I felt like my life didn't matter. I felt like he got away with it. And I felt like the only way that justice would have been served is if I had died. And that's kind of like how the court made me feel. Like when you're still alive, and and they basically almost deemed it like a lover's quarrel, and dismissed it. And so I felt like if you had a witness there, he admitted that he did it, and all of these other things, and you still let him walk out, then it means that I don't matter.
Yeah. And I know that to be true because working with the domestic violence facility, sometimes and going to the court, it's like, are you really re-victimizing this woman right here? And first of all, you have this male judge.
Yes.
And the woman, and they're very stern and can come across condescending when talking to you. So they can even make you question yourself. Well, was I doing something wrong? Because they're talking to you just as abruptly as the other person was.
And don't forget that before you got in front of the judge, you were talking with the police officer who had that same
right. Yeah. Wow. That's so much. That's so much. So
so I felt like it didn't matter. And how could I talk to someone else to tell them, hey, these are the signs or whatever? They'd be like, I just felt like it's gonna fall on deaf ears. I even had an incident years later where I tried to warn someone and it kind of like fell on deaf ears, and within 24 hours the victim was killed.
Oh,
so that silence,
Jesus.
Same way with me, with stabbed by a boyfriend. And so
Jesus.
Yeah, in less than 24 hours from me trying to warn them, she was killed. And so that silenced me even more. Like, see, nobody's paying you any attention, you know. But then me speaking about it now, and now it's just more than just telling my story. It's me. I'm in training all week, every week. Like I'm always at somebody's training about just
Right.
different types of abuse and the warning signs and just so much to raise awareness. That's my
Yes.
goal, is that
Yeah.
some to save someone else, to help these families when, yeah, you want to go after that perpetrator, but
Right.
you want to be safe first and foremost.
Right.
You have to understand that their agenda is totally different from what yours is.
That's right. That's
And
right. That's
they
right.
have nothing to lose, and they don't mind. That's why we see so many murder suicides.
Yeah.
We see
Yeah.
where they will take out a whole family, babies, children, parents,
Everybody.
everybody will go, including them,
Yeah.
and they won't blink about it. So
My God. And it's real, and people don't understand. And you got to know that, it like in your situation, you probably wasn't the first, but as you can see, it happened again, because
that's
it
right.
will happen again
Yes,
until the person is truly, stopped. And that's why it's so important to get domestic violence awareness out there. Now, I know, if somebody wanted to reach you to speak or to even get your books, they can contact you via your email, which is NataliePurdie@yahoo.com. They can talk to you about booking you, and you coming out and helping awareness. But Natalie, listen, I'm gonna have you back, because we're gonna have to talk about this up in the church. We
absolutely.
definitely gonna have to talk about this in the church. And
Yes,
who knows, I might get Pastor Allen to come on here with me, but we'll see.
yes, yes, yes.
That's a whole nother arrival. So Natalie, listen, I am so grateful that you have been on here to share your story with us, to let us know, like, yeah, there's warning signs, but sometimes warning signs is they too much of a Casanova. It might not look like the traditional warning signs. So,
That's
and
correct.
that's why your story is unique, because it didn't look like the traditional, warning signs, right? So, and if you had to leave a nugget for the viewers, what would your nugget be?
My negative would be believe them.
Believe them. Speak to that. Believe them.
Believe them. If if they tell you that something's not right, if you discount it and you already start turning them away, they may not tell you. You have to also not just believe them, but don't pass judgment.
Hmm.
Know that if they're coming to you to tell you, you have to, don't try and give them advice because you don't know all the answers. You just
Right.
have to tell them that they don't deserve it, and try and be as supportive as you can
Yeah.
when helping them to figure it out and how to leave. But don't make threats to tell them, like, if you don't leave,
Yeah.
I'll never speak
That's
to
good.
you, or you can't talk to me anymore, because you have to understand that it took a lot for them to reach out to specifically you, and they probably
Yes.
haven't told anyone else, and they confided in you. And so they just need you to be there to believe them, listen to what they're saying, and try and get them the help that they need.
I like that. I like that you said believe them. I like that you said support them, because so many people in domestic violence relationships lose their family and supporters because they go back, and people don't really understand, but it's really 7 times that a person leaves before they really leave. And that's by God's grace, if they are able to leave, because sometimes they unfortunately, the perpetrator does, homicide is involved. So, or homicide suicide, like you said. So I can appreciate that you said that. And don't pass judgment is key as well. You said, believe them, don't pass judgment, just be there for them. So yeah, I just appreciate it so much that you are on here. We're definitely going to speak again about you coming back, so we could talk just about the church period, because I really think that's important, because what you said was so powerful. And then I am going to see you again, because you are going to come on with me next week. And I am so excited that you're going to come on with me next week. So listen, guys, you guys have been tuning into Real Talk with Ellasin, and all month long, every Thursday at 7, we're going to be talking about breaking the silence. Natalie Purdie, she was on here telling us about a domestic violence survivor. Next week, she's going to help me with my story, a survivor story about, abuse and same-sex violation. On October 20th, we're going to have Carisha Ford, a family abuse survivor. And then we're also going to have Noda Odom on the 27th. And she's going to be talking about surviving as far as racism and being integrated and all that stuff. So we're going to be talking about breaking the silence, a survivor story all month long. So please continue to pray for Natalie, pray for myself, pray for Carisha, pray for Nona, and pray for everyone, because women are going through and they're silent. Men are going through and they're even more silent. Men are being abused as well. Okay. So I just want to say again, Natalie, I appreciate you and I thank you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Real Talk with Ellasin, and I am Ellasin. You guys have a wonderful night and God bless. Mwah.
Thank you.